Hey guys, it's Marisa with Handle Your Business Bootcamp with Marisa C. And this is part 2 of why I became an entrepreneur. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background information. My grandparents on my mother's side are Jamaican. They were born and raised in Jamaica. And they migrated to England, the United Kingdom, and they stayed there for about 16 years. And they were looking for, better opportunity for what was going on in Jamaica. They wanted more. So they left the country, went to England, was there for 16 years, and then my grandfather was promoted. I think he was working with an aircraft company, and he was promoted to the U.S., and they relocated to Hartford, Connecticut. And that's where I was born and raised, in Hartford, Connecticut. And, my grandfather, he left the air parts company, and he actually opened his own convenience store. And he had that convenience store for 30 something years. And I looked up to him because my grandfather, he has a heavy accent. He's working in the urban city of Hartford, and he basically came from Jamaica. I don't know if you've been to Jamaica, but it has rough spots. If you think the projects is rough here in the U.S., you ain't seen the projects or poverty until you've gone into a third world country. Now that's poverty, but that's where my family came from, and I looked up to them because they came from there, and they made it to the U.S., and they had their own convenience store, and it was up and running for 30 years. My grandfather worked there night and day. He was there holidays. If it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, my grandfather was open. That store was open. He was selling his lottery tickets. He was selling his eggnog, and he had his gravy, because people run out of stuff on Thanksgiving. He had his paper plates, his paper cups, and he knew that there was a need. There was a demand. Now, he would shut down early and have dinner and spend time with the family, but he made sure that he was there to serve the community. And, it was a family-owned business. My grandmother, she worked the cash register. She's Jamaican as well, worked the cash register and a lotto machine. And me coming up as a child, they used to be like, Marisa, go ahead and pack the candy. And so I used to pack the Now and Laters and the Snickers bar and the Sour Powers. And, it was fun to me. We would go and rearrange the cans and make sure they was facing the right way. And, I remember, trying to run the register, and I didn't know how to count change. And I learned how to count change from working at my grandfather's store. And his spirit is in me of wanting to have my own and wanting to be able to employ my family and show them that there's a way. When there's a will, there is a way. Now, he was fortunate enough. He told me that a guy, he was an Indian guy, came to him, with the idea of opening the business. And that's what he did. Somebody saw opportunity and presented it to him and thought he was an ideal candidate, and he took it. And, he left that aircraft company. So, his spirit is in me. I always wanted to have my own. It was unfortunate that he wasn't able to. He had a stroke and a heart attack, and he wasn't able to carry on the business. And, my uncle had passed away, and then my other uncle was dealing with mental illness. So, there was no one to forward the business on to. But one thing that I do know is that he had owned the building. He owned the property. So even though the store wasn't running, my grandfather still to this day owns the property. My grandfather is 90 years old. He's battling Alzheimer's. And my grandmother, she is, I would say she's not too far behind him. But they still get income. They get their rent payments from the people that are running their own businesses out of his building. He has a church on the second floor. There's a barbershop on the first floor, or a beauty salon. And that just goes to show that, even though you're not physically there, you can still, there's still a way. That entrepreneurial spirit that you have, you can make sure that you're going to be collecting money for the rest of your life. And that's how my grandfather is. And I'm pretty sure he's going to turn that building over to the family, and we'll be collecting the rents on his behalf. So, just seeing that growing up, it really taught me a lot of how to handle business, how to deal with people. And, I really looking forward to doing that. How to employ the people in the community, and how to give back. Everybody always say, "Oh, you Mr. Thomas' granddaughter. I used to go in that store, and your grandfather, he used to talk to me and tell me how I need to get off the corner, and I need to do this and do that." And, everybody looked up to my grandfather. And that's how I want to be when I have my businesses. I want to have something for my kids. And I want to leave something for them, so that they can have some type of financial freedom. And they don't have to rely on anyone. So that's one of my stories, sharing my background information of why I have this desire and why I became an entrepreneur with my husband, and also some business opportunities with my travel business, and trying to help others build their businesses, thinking about being a business coach. So, it's in me. The spirit is in me. And the spirit has to be in you too, if you want to see that change for yourself and for your family. Information is below. We could link up on Facebook, Handle Your Business Bootcamp with Marisa C. And I will see you on the next video. Enjoy your day.